and there are ways to preserve them. Now, I am not a canner. I never have been. I've never done it. My sister makes a really great jam with fresh raspberries, and she uses amaretto in there. It's a raspberry almond jam that's delicious. I've never tried that, but I might stick my neck out that way. But there's a whole laundry list of things that you can do aside from canning to help preserve this bounty. And joining us on the Eat, Drink, Explore live line right now is Emma Christensen, the Bay Area's very own. She is an author and editor. In fact, she's the recipe editor for thekitchn.com, and that's spelled Kitchn, thekitchn.com. It's an online foodie resource that's terrific. Also author of True Brews, How to Craft Fermented Cider, Beer, Wine, Sake, Soda, Mead, Kefir, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Kombucha. You can do it all at home, but we're not drilling her brain on any of that. We are featuring Emma today for her tips on preserving all these fresh summertime fruits and vegetables. Emma, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
You know, I really loved your article. I was looking through it and I was thinking, these are all really simple things that I can do. I don't have to worry about, people passing out at a party because I didn't can correctly.
Exactly, and that's exactly why I wrote this piece. I am also not a canner. I have tried, and I have so many other projects going on. It's just not going to happen. So
right.
I am a fan of other ways of preserving. And two of my favorites, two of the best, are freezing and dehydrating.
Yeah, and one of your freezing techniques is it looks like in the picture that you shared with us that we are sharing on our video simulcast right now at eatdrinkexplore.com, is to take fresh herbs from your garden, put them in olive oil, and then freeze them into cubes. It ends up looking like butter when it's frozen, and I imagine it just tastes fantastic in mid-February when you pull them out.
Yeah, exactly. And you could just plop that into the bottom of a pot and use that as a base for a soup or a sauce or anything that you want to use those herbs for, and it's fantastic. And
do any herbs work well with this? Basil, I know basil can get really kind of black sometimes when you do certain things to it, but across the board, you've tried this with different types of herbs?
Yeah, I mean, any fresh herb is going to work. Some of the woodier herbs tend to work better, like thyme and rosemary. You will get a little bit of that loss of color with basil if you want to use that, but the flavor is still there. It just might not look quite as pretty. And olive oil you've found to be one of the better oils for this? Yeah, you can use any cooking oil that you enjoy cooking with, but olive oil has such a nice flavor that just goes with any herb, and it's great for cooking with. Adds just a really rich, lovely flavor to about anything you want to cook. And do you use an ice cube tray, or what sort of method do you use to get them in these cubes? Yeah, right, just in an empty ice cube tray. Even better is that you can find sometimes at places like Whole Foods or any kind of kitchen supply store, sometimes they have these little tiny ice cube trays. They're like half-size ice cubes, and I find that those are even better for preserving herbs because then you don't have to use quite as much at one go. Yeah, I've done the ice cube trick with pesto before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works great with pesto. I mean, that's basically the same idea, right, except you're using more herb and cheese and all those other delicious pesto ingredients to the oil, whereas you're making oil ice cubes, you're just using more oil and adding in your fresh herbs. What are some of the other freezer-friendly produce items that you like to freeze and the method for doing it? Sure. Honestly, I just love to straight up freeze fruit and vegetables. It's just about as simple as that. Any larger fruits or larger vegetables, just chop them up into little bite-sized pieces, chop up some strawberries into bite-sized pieces. Peaches, you can chop up into bite-sized pieces. Red peppers are big right now at the markets. Like I said, just chop them right up. And the best way to freeze them is to spread them out in an even layer on a sheet pan. Line the sheet pan with a piece of parchment first, and then lay whatever fruit or vegetable you want to freeze. Just lay it right on top in a single layer. Let that freeze until the fruit or vegetable is solid, and then use the parchment to lift up the fruit or vegetable that you've frozen and just transfer it into a freezer container or a freezer bag. And the reason why you want to freeze it flat like that first is that that way they don't clump up together. They don't actually freeze solid into one solid block.
Right.
basically little pieces of frozen fruits and vegetables. And then you can just, you want half a cup for your morning smoothie, just scoop out a half a cup of frozen strawberries, or you want a half a cup of peppers for the chili that you're making. Scoop that right out and put it in your pot.
So make sure that these are pre-washed because you're going to be using them right out of the freezer.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And do they need to be dry when you put them into the freezer on the parchment?
Yeah, they really should be. I mean, as much as you can. Obviously, if you're cutting them into pieces, the cut sides are going to be a little wet, but just do your best to wash them and then dry them with a clean towel or paper towel, and you can let them air dry for a few minutes. It's not, it's not an exact science. Do the best you can, but as long as they're not dripping wet, they'll be fine. If they do have moisture on them, the only downside is that they'll tend to start getting freezer burn a little sooner.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. So the drier they are, the less likely they'll get that freezer burn.
Exactly. And also, when you pack it up into your freezing container or freezer bag, if you can press out as much air as possible, that's another way to prevent freezer burn from showing up for a while.
Yeah. So, Emma, we have one of those water carbonators called a Soda Stream at home, and we don't buy the soda syrups that come with it, so you can make your own Coke or whatever. We just use the bubble water, and then we fill the glass like maybe a third of the way with some whole fruit juice from the store. But you have a way of making some fruit syrups, right, that you can mix into some of this bubble water?
Sure. I mean, it's basically what you're doing is taking fresh fruit, whatever fruit just looks awesome and ripe and juicy to you at the market, and making a fresh juice out of it. And the way you do it, if you have a juicer, obviously you can just go ahead and juice those fruits. But if you don't have a juicer, you can just blend up the ripe fruit, wash it first, and then blend it up and strain it through a strainer. You'll get a little bit of sediment that way. So if you're one of those people that hate sediment, just line the strainer with a piece of cheesecloth or a fine mesh, anything a little bit finer than the strainer. Strain it through, and then you have juice. And you can use it just like that, or you can combine it with a simple syrup, which is basically equal parts water and sugar. Bring that to a simmer on the stovetop until the sugar melts. Mix that into the fruit juice, and you basically have the same kind of sweet, syrupy, fruity syrup that you would put into your Soda Stream.
Yeah, that sounds good. You could even maybe use a little honey if you're a honey fan.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, use honey, use brown sugar, any of the sugars that you like to use. I just got some coconut sugar in the mail, and that's really delicious. You can also infuse that fruit with a little bit of with some herbs. So you can make like a strawberry basil soda.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that works best if you're making that simple syrup. Just throw the basil leaves or the mint leaves or whatever herb you want to use. Ginger also is really good. Just throw that into the simple syrup as it's cooling down.
Yeah.
And then combine it with the fruit juice that you've made, and yeah, you get great flavor that way.
Emma, in the minute we have left, I want you to address, I was at the market last Saturday, and one of the tomato vendors had a whole table of tomatoes that were beyond ripe, and so they were selling them for a lot less. And I was thinking, I wish I had a great tomato sauce recipe. I'd buy up a ton of these. You've got one for roasted tomato sauce with garlic that you can then, I guess, freeze or store somehow. Sure.
Yeah, tomato sauce is a great way to use up all of those. It's, in my opinion, the way to use up really overripe tomatoes. Roasted tomato sauce is super easy. All you do is cut those tomatoes in half, snip out the stem, just cut it out with a paring knife, put them cut side down on a sheet pan, stick them under the broiler for about 5 to 10 minutes. Keep an eye on them. When the skins get totally black and roasty, take it out and cool down a little bit, and then the skins actually come off very easily. Just pinch the top of the tomato, and you'll be able to pull the skins right off. Puree it up in a blender, and you're good to go. Like that. Yeah, or you can freeze it, whatever you want to do.
Emma Christensen, author, editor, thekitchn.com. That's Kitchn. Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
I could talk to Emma forever. We'll have to have her back on again sometime very soon. Stick around. We're talking avocado ale up next.
Luna Red Restaurant in downtown San Luis Obispo is the perfect spot for a weekend brunch offered every Saturday and Sunday.